All right. I am here with Erika Hizel. I'm just waiting for the Instagram live to populate here. Awesome. So now we are officially live. And I brought Erika Hizel. It's the perfect timing because everybody's starting to get their property valuations. And we are going to have to pay more taxes probably. And so I thought this was perfect timing. And I've never heard of a position like this. So I want to pass it over to you just so you can kind of give us an overview. Like, what is the Bexar County Appraisal District and what's this new position that you're applying for?
Sure. Well, thanks, Tanya, for inviting me. I think it was a great idea. Everybody pays their property taxes, and if they don't, they get their properties taken away. The board has always existed. It's basically the board that oversees the appraiser and then the budget for all the appraisers that appraise everybody's properties throughout the year for property tax valuations. What's new is that with the last legislative session, they did add in counties over 75,000 people that 3 of those board members should be elected from the general public. So it's kind of surprising to me that it hadn't happened before because we're basically being taxed without representation. And from this year going forward, we'll at least have 3 people that will represent the general public, which is you all, on the board for those counties that have more than 75,000 people. And that does include San Antonio, Bexar County.
Interesting. So, what exactly is it that you guys are going to be doing on that board?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the full answer to that quite yet, but I do know that we basically manage the chief appraiser, anything that goes under that, including staffing and budgets, as well as hiring the appraisal review board members. And so it's kind of a little bit like city council to city manager. Like technically the city council's elected to manage the city manager, which then manages the whole city. But it's kind of that similar structure, but with the appraiser.
Okay. And so what is the difference between, a home appraisal and a assessed value? When you get those in the mail, what's the difference of that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tanya. So basically, an appraised value is the market value for your home. So they're taking market data, which is on the multiple listing service realtors use, brokers use to sell and purchase homes on that market. So that is basically 3% of the market. Really, it's 3% of the houses that get sold every year. They're taking those houses and saying that's basically the market rate for everybody else's, the rest of the 97%. So it's really kind of a retail grade, very, very good condition house. If you're, hiring a realtor or selling it on the multiple listing service, as as a broker and a realtor. And the assessed value is really is basically the value minus deductions for your homestead, if you're over 65, if you're disabled. So those can be 2 different numbers. They're not always different numbers. So for example, as a housing provider, those numbers will be the same. Let's say for me, if I'm renting out a house and I'm not homesteading in it and I'm not over 65. So for housing providers, they can be the same number, but for the rest of us, it would be a different number because we get a homestead exemption, or if you're 65, or if you're disabled, or if you're a disabled vet. There's lots of exemptions. Another exemption that we don't really see as much here in Bexar County, but throughout the state, you can have an ag exemption.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, it's not just cows or cattle. It could be bees or birds. It depends on the county, how the county will value those.
And for those type of exemptions, do you have to be does that have to be your primary residence, or can it be an investment?
For the ag exemption or for the homestead?
For the ag and just the ag exemption.
That's a good question. I don't really know the full answer to that yet. The only people I know that have them are also homesteading on them, but I'm not sure if that's an exact rule. And then remember, it changes by county. So some
Mhm.
counties require 10 acres, other count 5. So it's really kind of not an easy answer to an easy question to answer.
Makes sense. But the one that you do need is that you do need to be a primary residence is the homestead.
Yes, and it has to match your ID. So you may be homesteading and not realizing it and not getting that exemption because if you don't have your driver's license with that address, a lot of times this happens with houses that may be inherited, for example. So let's say someone inherits their parents' house, they pass on, they may be moved back in as their homestead, but they haven't changed that address on their driver's license. They won't give you a homestead exemption unless they both match the deed and the driver's license.
Awesome. And then, so when would you, this may not be in your realm, but when would you tell somebody to apply for the homestead? Is that something that you would suggest?
You can do it. Oh, definitely. You can do it for free. You do need to go to the appraisal district office so that they can verify your ID. So this is not something easily done online, although I think there may be an option for that. But they usually want you to come in so they can see your ID, that it's the same person that's asking for the homestead exemption. There are companies that do it for you, can do it for you as well, but it's free, it's easy to do. It's at their Frio office location, which is just a little bit west of downtown. They usually have plenty of parking, and it's just a real simple form, the homestead in the property, as long as it matches your ID. So yes, a lot of people don't. I see a lot of houses on the rolls where the address is the same as the person who owns it, but there's no exemption on it. And there probably should be one.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
for sure. And so you reminded me of whenever I went to appeal my valuation on Frio Street. Is that something that you would suggest people do whenever they get their papers in the mail, or what's your suggestion in that case?
So definitely yes. I think everybody should be appealing every year. Um, that's something that a lot of the companies who do it for a living say to do. And I've seen it, even if you're only getting it down, a few percentage points or maybe a few $1,000, however much that is. If you plan to live in your home for longer than 5 years, it'll accumulate that deduction. So if you do it every year and you save a little bit every year, over 10 or 20 years, you see a huge deduction. And I can tell that I'm the only one in my neighborhood doing it every year, because my neighbors, they're not protesting. And you should be protesting if your house is not ready to be sold on the retail market in perfect condition, then you should be protesting.
Great advice. And that's what I tell everybody too. Like, it's so important to protest your taxes, not just for the immediate, but for 10 years down the road, or even when you go to sell. And that also comes back to like the appraised value. So I actually have a lot of people who um, they see the value on Bexar County Appraisal District, but then they see what it's listed for on like the MLS or on realtor.com, right? And they're totally different values. What would you say that would be? Is that mainly because they're appealing or something else?
Oh, it could be a variety
Why
of
would
reasons. It's not an exact answer. Again, you're giving me difficult questions here today, Tanya. It could be a variety of reasons. They're either they could be in a neighborhood, for example, that doesn't have any multiple listing service sales for the year. I had a house not far from Highland Park, didn't have any multiple listing service houses that sold for that year. So I didn't get a notice of higher value. So it could be a variety of things. We're also a non-disclosure state. So if a house is sold privately, not on the multiple listing service, nobody really knows what that value is or what that price was sold for. So it could be that. It could be a foreclosure or an inherited property. it just, there's like not one straight answer for it. But I have had that happen where there were just no multiple listing service listings for this area that my house was in. And so I didn't get a notice of appraised value. They really couldn't change it.
Mm.
Um, mhm.
That's
Travis
kind of
County
nice.
is one example. In COVID, they refused to give their appraisal district all the MLS data because that's actually owned. It's a proprietary system, as you know. It's a proprietary database that's paid for and managed by licensed realtors. So in 2020, Travis didn't reappraise.
Mm. Wow. I didn't
Mhm.
know that. That's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
they don't really want you to know that you don't have to appraise every year. Yeah.
Wow, so crazy. And so we kind of went into a little bit details already as far as how this affects the homeowner, but is there anything you'd like to add as far as why this is important to the homeowner, especially like your new role?
Mhm. Yes, I think it's basically the number one cost of living expense you have as a family, as a household, as an individual, even as a renter. I get a lot of questions from renters. Why is it important for me to go out and vote for this? Well, they're paying for it in one way or another. It's a hard cost. It's a hard cost for apartments, a hard cost for homeowners. It's a hard cost for everybody that lives in a space. So that's why it's very, very important, is that it's the number one hard cost of living budget item that any single person will pay, even if you're a renter. You're paying it because there's no, you know, unless you're living in a free charitable place, somebody's paying it. And then additionally, it's what really basically makes America, right? We have a structure where these property taxes pay for public schools. So it's the most important, probably, board, unless you're looking at Social Security or Medicare or some sort of health thing. We fund the university hospital system through this. We fund public schools. We fund our community colleges through this. So this is kind of what makes America go round and round, is how we pay into the property tax system to provide all of these public resources. That's what I would
Okay,
say.
yeah,
I need to get that a little tighter, though, a little bit shorter.
no, that was good. I appreciate you going into detail. And so if you were to be elected, what would you like, how would you make a difference? What are your plans?
Good question, Tanya. So I'm basically running on three issues. The first one is to make it more transparent. I have had a lot of homeowners tell me, when they do try to protest or appeal, they don't know why their data is not accepted. They don't know why a photo is not accepted. They don't know why they can't use a certain program. And so then they get to that point and then they're either denied the data, the evidence, but they just don't understand why. So my goal would be to help homeowners better understand, what they can and cannot do as far as transparency goes with the district. The second one is to modernize things. I think the district has done a really good job. So this is really just improving upon what they've already started doing since COVID, which is making things a little bit more accessible. It still runs from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And, my rationale is if the tax collector entity can collect your taxes after 5, then you should be able to protest after 5, or, make it a little bit easier for working families who may not have the time between 8 and 5. They've got children and have to go pick them up after school or whatever that is. And then just advocating for the taxpayer. I think that it's so intrinsic to our system that a lot of times we take it for granted, and we need to really be a little bit more fiscally aware of how our property tax dollars, where they go, what they fund, and how the homeowner is an essential part of that.
I love that you said to modernize like the whole process and give people an opportunity to do it maybe outside of regular work hours.
Mhm.
And one other thing that I've noticed as a realtor is that a lot of homeowners don't even know about it. Like they get this letter and they're like, oh, okay, another piece of trash or, whatever, spam mail. They don't realize how important it is. So is there anything that you plan to do to like make people understand what this is and why it's so important? Is there anything in the pipeline for that?
That's a good suggestion. I think part of the problem is that 75% of the properties have a mortgage on it, so the taxpayer doesn't necessarily see the direct bill. They should see the direct bill, but they kind of just don't know what it is, or it's wrapped up in their mortgage, wrapped up in their escrow, and I think that's also a little bit that's kind of also helpful to the district in that only 20 to 25% of the people protest. Is probably that 20 to 25 that doesn't have a mortgage on it. I don't know the data exactly on that. That's the other thing that I'm running on, is just kind of understanding the data, who's getting the exemptions, what are the exemptions costing, those kind of things. So that's a good suggestion, is maybe more outreach to the people that bundle the mortgages and say, hey, do you mind doing an extra notice, or maybe putting it on a yellow sheet of paper, so that when the homeowners get their mortgages, of course, a lot of them don't get them in paper either anymore. That's a good idea. That would be a good example of making people more aware that they may not pay it like directly, but it's part of what they pay in their payment.
Yeah, and they usually don't realize until the following year when the mortgage company's like, hey, you have back taxes that are due, and then your payment goes up almost $1,000, which actually happened to us like 2 years
Oh,
ago. We're like, oh wow, this is
you had a
wild.
big escrow lump sum there you had to do.
Yeah, well, we didn't opt for the lump sum. They said you could pay monthly, and so we're like, that's surprising. But now we should even it out because of the 100,000 homestead versus the 25,000 that it used to be. So
Yeah, you get a bigger homestead exemption. The city also started their homestead exemption a few years ago as well. Other cities already had a homestead exemption, so San Antonio was kind of late in the game on that this last couple of years. But yeah, exactly. It's as an example, I have a mortgage on my house, but I went ahead and unescrowed my mortgage. Of course, I've been here a while, so it's not new. It's not like the last 5 years. So just so that I could pay property taxes on a split payment. So as they started increasing a lot, I just unescrowed my mortgage so that I could manage the taxes better. That's how much of a hit it is for us financially. So I'm paying double in property taxes since I've lived here. And one of the only ways I've been able to manage it is unescrowing it. Not that I would recommend people do that, but it is another way to manage it, because the district, well, actually the tax assessor gives you an option to do other payment arrangements.
Nice. And I always suggest, if you can, do the escrow to put it in like an interest bearing account and leave it for a year. And then at least you're better off than you were if you don't have the money, right? You'll have a
Yes,
little bit
that
of
is a
extra money.
very good piece of advice, is
Yeah.
that you're not gaining any interest on that escrow account. So
Mhm.
it is better to kind of manage it yourself if you can. Now, not all mortgage companies will let you on escrow. Just depends on if they can or not. What I had to do is I ended up having to pay for my own reappraisal so that they would take it off.
Mm. Yeah, typically it is if you either do that or have already acquired more than 20% of the value. And so we were able to do that without having to pay for an appraisal, which was
Oh,
good.
nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not paying $1,000 extra a month because
Well,
that's
yeah,
they
well,
wanted to cushion the escrow. That's the problem.
yeah, you have to. So I also did it because at the time I had mortgage insurance. The banks do that if you do less than 20% down. So I
Mhm.
can't do two payments in one by doing the appraisals. So for those of you that are watching, you might want to see also if you're paying for that mortgage insurance, which the lenders do automatically. And if you have 20% of value already in the house, it may be worth it for you to pay an appraisal to take that mortgage insurance off. Now, some loan types won't let you do that. I think FHA won't let you do that. I can't remember which ones will and which ones won't now that I've gotten out of the mortgage industry a while.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip too, because it's the FHA, you cannot get rid of the mortgage insurance, but the conventional you can. And we started with that, and then I was like, well, why don't we just take apart the escrow and call it a day? So now we have to pay for our own insurance and taxes, which is kind of daunting, but also a little bit better on our mortgage payment monthly. So it definitely helps. So we went off on a little bit of a tangent, I suppose, but I did want to find out how many other candidates are there that are going to be running for this position.
So there are 3 places for the board. So it's 3 total, and that's all countywide. It's not tied to any specific geography. So as long as we live in Bexar County, which is big and large, as you know. So there's 3 places and 9 candidates running. So there's just different numbers per place running. I'm running in place 2, so I have 2 other opponents. Place 1 has 2 total candidates, and place 3 has 4.
Oh, interesting. Is there a difference?
No, you do have to vote per place. So when you go to the ballot, you've got to vote 3 people.
Oh.
And of course, I'm obviously the most qualified of my place in place 2.
I'd agree 100%. Vote for Erika. I'll be there.
And then that just place 3 and place 1. I found the quickest kind of summary for all the candidates, and I can't really officially endorse anyone. We've all gotten to be friends, on this campaign trail, regardless of where we come from or whatever, was the League of Women Voters. So if you go to, I think it's vote411.org, you can see the League of Women Voters basically runs like a very nice little summary. They really just asked us 2 questions. Some of it I answered in the interview, but they do that for all the candidates. So if you kind of want to educate yourself before you go to the ballot, of course, you're going to vote Erika. I know everybody is listening. And just do a little research on place 1 and place 3.
Perfect. And how would somebody vote? Just go to your local.
So right now we are still in early vote this is through tomorrow. And there are 41 early vote sites. And if you're confused about your polling site, feel free to email vote@erikahizel.com. So it's vote@erikahizel.com. And I can help you find your closest early voting site. And then once those close tomorrow, then it'll be the election day on Saturday. And those go back to the regular non-early voting places. So wherever you normally vote election day for basically everything like president, primary, whatever it may be, that's going to be a different place for some folks on Saturday. And it's hard to tell which one it is or which one it isn't.
Okay. And is it just for this position, or are there other things people have to vote for?
So a lot of the county is just these 3 positions. Now, other parts of the county, no. So I'm in Northeast ISD. I know they're running 5 candidates to vote for in Northeast ISD. Of course, I only get to vote for 1 because I'm in a specific area of any ISD, and it's really based on what high school you feed into. Other municipalities have municipal races. So I know when I went to Kirby yesterday, they were running city council there. I know when I went to Universal City yesterday, they were running city council there. So it just depends on where you are in the county. For most of the county, it may just be these 3 seats. And in other parts of the county, it could include a school board or municipal city council people. Not the city of San Antonio, but the municipalities like Universal City, Kirby, Hill Country Village, Terrell Hills, those kind of areas.
Nice. Well, that's good to know. I've been seeing those voting flags outside my yard because we live across the street from the police station.
Oh, okay. So Fair Oaks has a oh, okay. So if you're in Fair Oaks, you'll have other things to vote for as well then, it sounds like. But it's really hard to answer that, not knowing. Now, that's the other thing the League of Women Voters does really well. So in that little summary, it'll tell you all the other down ballot races that are running.
League of Women Voters.
League of Women Voters. And they run that for vote411.org.
Hopefully I spelled league right. It looks weird, but I did put the link in there, and then I'll have to go tomorrow. I guess that's the last day to vote.
Yes, it's
Early.
vote411.org.
Perfect.
And you put in your street address and your zip code, and it'll tell you what you have. And then the League of Women Voters, on their first page, they'll have just the Bexar County Appraisal Board candidates because we're the top of the ballot. So you'll see us first.
Cool. Awesome. And I don't even know if you have a favorite thing. I usually ask what your favorite thing about your role is, but you haven't really gotten into the role yet. But if you want to throw something out there, feel free.
Sure. Well, I've just kind of enjoyed, I was running a little late today because I had to do physical therapy starting on my foot. I broke it in December. I think you know this. And so she was asking me about it, and we started talking taxes. And I think the funnest thing is just meeting people and helping them understand, appraised versus assessed, getting to just talking to people. And thankfully I'm an extrovert. Unlike my husband.
No, not you.
So I think that's the funnest thing is just meeting the public. And, there are, some crazies out there too. But in general, people are just very frustrated or they just don't understand it. So it's the funnest part is being able to help somebody. I try to help at least one person a day.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll help more than one with this position. That should have been my campaign logo slogan.
Help more than one.
More than one.
I love that. That's perfect. We can end on that note, but I do want to find out more about your meet and greet. Can you tell us more about that? So I can.
Yes. So I will be having a meet and greet on UTSA Boulevard, which is kind of in the northwestern part of San Antonio. For those of you that live somewhat in that area. And I'm sorry, I want to get you the right address. So it's at Big Z Burger Joint at 5539 UTSA Boulevard. And I'll be there from 6:30 to 8:30. It's very casual. I'll have just kind of an area for me. If you guys want to meet me, feel free to come after 6:30. I probably won't, do a program until around 7-ish, just depending on people that show. And then a question and answer, just to educate people about the board. And I know as part of that, they're going to be asking me about their tax notices too. So feel free to bring them just so that I can look at what I'm seeing. I get a lot where they tell me their issue, but I don't really know what the issue is until I see their actual property ID statement. So feel free to bring those. It is, again, like I said, Big Z Burger Joint this Wednesday, May 1st at 6:30. And we're going to be there till 8:30 with a short program starting around 7:15.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm going to take Mason, and I'm really glad you said UTSA Boulevard because I almost went. I think there's a different ones.
Yeah, there's multiple ones. I didn't know that either. This is going to be my first time there.
Oh,
I'd like to thank Claudia from my campaign for organizing it. It's at the 5539 UTSA Boulevard.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited. I haven't seen you in a while, so me and Mason will be there.
I'm glad that Mason's going to join us.
Yeah, he's going to love it. They always have like that cool playground area, so I think he's going to have a good time.
Cool. Now, can you bring dogs there? Have you been there before?
I haven't been to the one on UTSA.
So. Okay. But in the other ones, can you bring dogs?
I believe so. Yeah, they're outdoors.
Like a patio? Is there a patio out there?
Yeah.
That's one question I've had, and I didn't know quite the answer to it yet. Been running from one place to the next. But Mason is definitely going to have fun. So.
Yes. Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. It's nice and humid out there.
Yes. Had to kind of down my hair here. But in New Mexico, I had no body. At least here I have a little body.
You're hilarious.
Thanks for the invitation, Tanya. This was fun.
It was fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in office. Next I can say I have a friend that's doing big things.
Well, get out and vote.
Yep, we're gonna go vote.
Thank you. By tomorrow. All righty.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Tanya.